Let's get one thing straight. Your attention span isn't shrinking because you're lazy or broken. It's shrinking because it's being hunted. That's not a metaphor. There are literal billion-dollar industries competing to trap your focus like it's a rare Pokemon. Your brain, meanwhile, was built to scan the horizon for movement and danger, then rest. It was not trained to sit still for an 8-hour Zoom meeting while 7 apps scream for your attention like needy digital toddlers. The average human attention span is now estimated to be shorter than a goldfish's. But here's the twist. It's not because we're getting dumber. It's because attention has become a survival currency. When every platform, app, ad, and notification is a shiny object begging for your brain's limited RAM, your mental focus starts acting like a squirrel on 6 Red Bulls. So your brain learns to switch constantly. It jumps between tasks, tabs, texts, TikToks, and tweets. This creates a lovely little condition known as attention residue, which means even when you try to focus, your brain is still mentally chewing on whatever you just looked at 10 seconds ago. And then we blame ourselves for being bad at focus, as if we weren't living in a world designed to delete our focus on purpose. So no, it's not your fault you forgot what this section was about halfway through. It's your brain waving a white flag and asking for a nap. There's a reason horror movies don't take place in well-lit kitchens, with smooth jazz playing. Your brain has an ancient, deeply ingrained fear of the dark. Why? Because for thousands of years, darkness meant bad things with teeth came out. Even today, with streetlights, smart bulbs, and indoor plumbing, that primal wiring hasn't gone anywhere. That's why walking through your own house at night makes you feel like the final girl in a budget horror film. Every creak becomes a threat. Every shadow is probably an intruder, or worse, a tax collector. This is called nighttime hypervigilance, and it's why your brain sometimes plays horror movie trailers in your head when you're just trying to grab a glass of water at 2 a.m. You start imagining things behind you. You walk faster. You don't look in mirrors. You don't even breathe near closets. Even if you logically know it's just your cat knocking over a plant again, your amygdala, the brain's fear center, is screaming, "We die here." In the old days, this kept us alive. Today, it just means we sprint to bed like lunatics after turning off the lights. Basically, your brain's still convinced we live in a cave and that shadows are trying to murder us. Okay, let's address one of the most persistent modern myths: multitasking. You're not good at it. No one is. Your brain can't do it. It's like trying to juggle flaming swords while riding a unicycle on a tightrope during an earthquake. Sounds impressive, ends in disaster. What your brain thinks is doing when you reply to emails, watch a video essay, and microwave leftover noodles all at once is multitasking. But what it's actually doing is something called task switching, bouncing frantically between tasks, and doing each one slightly worse than if you just focused on one thing like a civilized human. Every switch costs mental energy. You lose milliseconds or full seconds each time your brain shifts gears, and those milliseconds add up until suddenly you've forgotten what the email was even about. Your noodles exploded, and you've somehow added the mating rituals of bees to your YouTube history. In fact, studies show multitasking lowers your IQ temporarily more than sleep deprivation or marijuana. So yes, checking your notifications while trying to work actually makes you dumber than pulling an all-nighter in a room full of secondhand weed smoke. But we do it anyway, because we're addicted to that little dopamine sparkle that comes with doing things, even when we're not really doing anything well. So if you've ever walked into a room, forgotten why, opened your phone, and then closed it without doing the thing you meant to do, congratulations. Your brain just rage quit reality. Fun fact, your brain has a friend limit, like a biological social cap. It's called Dunbar's number, and it hovers around 150 people, the number of relationships a human brain can comfortably track before it starts buffering like a bad Wi-Fi connection. But modern life laughs in Dunbar's face. Thanks to social media, email, and LinkedIn requests from that one guy you met once at a conference in 2019, your brain is now trying to process hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, their birthdays, their job changes, their dogs, their MLM schemes. The result? Your brain gets overwhelmed. It stops caring. It becomes socially numb, and you start forgetting the names of your coworkers while somehow remembering what your high school lab partner had for breakfast 3 days ago because they posted it on Instagram with a filter and a quote about resilience. Worse, your social comparison radar, another ancient system, goes into overdrive. Your ancestors only compared themselves to like 12 other people in a hut. You're comparing yourself to billionaires, influencers, fitness models, and toddlers with better skincare routines than you. Emotionally, that's like trying to lift a car with your eyelashes. So yeah, your brain is overwhelmed by humans. Ironically, by being too connected, we've broken the thing that made connection meaningful in the first place. Ever notice how you suddenly start overthinking everything when life is relatively fine? Like you're lying in bed with no real threat in sight, and your brain goes, "Hey, remember that weird thing you said in 2011? Let's unpack that." This is called default mode network activity, basically. What your brain does when it's not focused on a task. And spoiler, it's not chill. It doesn't use downtime to relax or take a break. No, it spins up mental simulations of imaginary arguments, potential failures, and cringe flashbacks from middle school talent shows. Your brain was built to anticipate threats, but now that we're not fending off wild animals, it still tries to find something to stress about. You're not anxious because you're broken, you're anxious because your brain refuses to admit it's safe. So it creates phantom problems like worrying if your friend is mad because they used a period instead of an emoji, or spiraling over whether your phone call sounded weird. These thoughts do nothing. They're just your brain doing mental jazz hands in the absence of danger. It's the equivalent of a smoke detector that goes off because you made toast over and over, and you still eat the toast anyway. Your ancestors used this mental simulation feature to not die. You use it to rehearse hypothetical conversations with your boss. Progress? Certainty feels good. It's why we crave answers, even bad ones. Your brain wants to know things not just because it's curious, but because it hates uncertainty the way cats hate baths. Why? Because uncertainty, in evolutionary terms, meant danger. If you didn't know whether that mushroom was edible, or if that animal was hostile, or if that cave belonged to someone else, it could cost you your life. So the brain developed a deep, primal intolerance for the unknown. Today, that same intolerance means your brain panics over texts that say we need to talk, or ambiguous emoji usage, or why someone left you on read. It's why you Google symptoms and somehow end up convinced you have 7 rare diseases and a ghost living in your colon. We'd rather believe anything than sit in the not knowing. This is also why conspiracy theories spread so easily. They offer neat little explanations wrapped in mystery with a bow of, now it all makes sense. Even if it makes absolutely no sense. Your brain is basically that one guy at trivia night who would rather be confidently wrong than say, I don't know. So next time you spiral because something's uncertain, remember, it's not you. It's your brain trying to solve Schrodinger's inbox. Quick thought experiment. Try to imagine nothing. Not darkness, not emptiness, not black space, just nothing. You can't, can you? That's because your brain has zero concept of nothing. It's not just bad at it, it's incapable. Even when you try to picture nothing, your mind just fills the void with something. A blank screen, a fog, a dark room, a weird floating sensation with light jazz playing, whatever. This is because your brain evolved to be a prediction machine. It constantly constructs models of what's around you, what's coming next, and what that weird look from your coworker meant. It fills in blanks automatically. That's how optical illusions work. You see lines that don't exist. You hear phantom vibrations. You remember events that never happened. Your brain makes stuff up to avoid confronting the terrifying idea that there might just be nothing. Even death, the ultimate nothing, allegedly, gets painted with metaphors and symbols and entire mythologies. Because your brain needs a narrative. Even if it's a white light or an old man with a beard and a clipboard. In short, your brain is like a toddler with crayons. It sees a blank space and goes, I'm gonna draw on that. So the next time you're meditating and your instructor says, clear your mind, just know your brain is in the corner furiously doodling existential nonsense like it's late for art class.